Now available in paperback and e-readers from SJS Direct. ISIS, House of Isis. The goddess next door takes on a hustling Hotep high priestess in Harlem in this Afrocentric ISIS series adventure. Pick up ISIS, House of Isis at online booksellers today. Last Saturday, hundreds of thousands of teenagers converged on Washington in a March for Their Lives. And in this March for Their Lives, these teenagers wanted to send a message to Congress to change gun control laws because they say they are tired of being terrorized in their schools by mass shooters and they're tired of gun violence due to mass shooters. So they want to send a message to Congress to change gun control laws. However, what most of these kids don't understand is that changing gun control laws will not change anything as related to the violence that mass shooters or these urban terrorists participate in. And an example of that was shown to me with Mark Anthony Condit's recent act of terrorism where he delivered package bombs to people's doorsteps in Austin, Texas. So no sort of legislation is going to stop these urban terrorists from participating in their acts of violence. If they can't get access to guns to participate in their acts of violence, they'll build bombs to participate in their acts of violence. And if they can't get bomb making supplies, they'll go out here and find some other way to do it. Now, what most people are doing when they go out here to march, they believe that this is going to get attention from Congress, and they believe legislation will solve the problem. I'm sorry, but legislation is not going to solve the problem when it comes down to this violence. And all we're doing when we talk about marches and all this stuff is we're addressing only the symptom of the problem. The big problem in America as it relates to these horrific acts of violence is that most Americans don't want to confront the source of this problem, which are all the mothers in America who are raising these boys in a dysfunctional manner. And because they are raising these boys in a dysfunctional manner, this is why we have these boys participating in these acts of violence. Now, I've studied this issue, and over the last 50 years, we've had this feminist movement go on. And feminists back in the 60s and the 70s, they thought we could raise this new generation of boys to be these quote unquote soft males. And they thought that the soft male would be kinder, more sensitive, and more in touch with his feelings. Unfortunately, there was a side effect to raising boys to be this soft male, and that side effect was this, is that this soft male is often filled with rage. And as he doesn't know how to navigate through his emotions or deal with his feelings, what he does is he simmers and boils in anger. And as he simmers and boils in anger for years and even decades in some cases, eventually those feelings, what happens is they have a spark because they have all these short circuits in their mind because they've been raised by women and socialized to behave like women. So they go out into the world that expects them to be a man, then they have a short circuit, and then they eventually explode. And when these guys go out here and explode in this rage, they participate in horrific acts of violence like mass shootings or going out here and participating in delivering package bombs on people's doorsteps. And people, they look at those behaviors and they don't see the connection between the way we are raising males in American society. All they're doing is reacting to the violence. Now, if we really want to solve this problem, we're going to have to confront the problem and acknowledge where the problem starts. And the problem primarily starts in the home and the way mothers are raising sons. The way we have raised sons over the last 50 years is raising an entire 2 to 3 generations of monsters because these beta males, they are monsters because they do not know how to control their feelings, they don't know how to navigate through their emotions, they don't know how to think critically, they don't know how to problem solve. In many ways, these guys act just like women. They expect the world to work for them just like women. And when they go out into the world and they get judged as men or are expected to behave like men, this is where they wind up falling apart because they're expecting the world to give them the same considerations that women get, but then women and men expect them to be men. And this is why they are falling apart and going out here and participating in these acts of violence. Now, a lot of people, they look at the mass shootings as only one part of the violence, but they don't understand there's a spectrum to this violence. And the spectrum to this violence can be anything from yelling at a girl who says she doesn't like him, or slapping a girl who says she doesn't like him, or cursing out a boss who tells him to do something, to going out here and punching out someone, or going into a verbal tirade at someone, to what we see with these mass shootings. Because this behavior, it has an escalation to it, and people are just looking at just at the extreme, which is the mass shooting, but they're not looking at the spectrum of the violence as related to these guys. Now, I've been studying these guys for 10 years. I've been reading books like Robert Glover's No More Mr. Nice Guy, and I've read numerous articles about these so-called soft males and nice guys. And a lot of people, they're just looking at the mass shooter and just saying, we need to stop the violence, but they don't understand that the only way we're going to stop the violence is by confronting many of these mothers about the way we are raising boys, setting a course to change the way we raise boys, and investing resources in men so that we can raise boys to become healthy and functional men. Moreover, we're going to have to start teaching a culture that teaches a value to men and teaching a worth to men, because when it comes down to our society, we have made all these investments in women and elevating women, but we have disregarded men, and that's why we have all these ticking time bombs out here that are going to explode. And the thing that most people don't want to acknowledge is this. We have 2 to 3 generations of these ticking time bombs out here, these beta males. So there are millions of these guys out here in any given day, and anything can set them off. So people are sitting there thinking, oh, we're going to solve this by banning bump stocks or banning assault weapons. I'm sorry, that's not going to do a single thing to stop these beta males. Again, what stopped Mark Anthony Condit from building package bombs? What stopped a guy in Pennsylvania from using knives to participate in his acts of violence? You say you want safer schools, you say you want enough is enough. If you want to really end this, it's not going to end with this generation or the next generation. It's going to end with the future generation, because when we deal with the future generation and raise them in a way that teaches them value in manhood, value in masculinity, value in being a man, that's what's going to stop a lot of this mass shooting violence, because these boys will be raised right. But most Americans, they don't want to confront females in America, and most politicians don't want to confront females in America, because females control the economy, because they have 70% of the jobs, and they are the largest voting bloc in America. And to tell women that they are raising boys wrong is something that would make them very angry and want to vote for another candidate. But the only way we are really going to stop all of this violence is we're going to have to confront women about the way we have raised boys. We're going to have to walk away from this feminist approach to raising boys. We're going to have to stop trying to raise soft males and raise integrated, balanced males like Dr. Glover talked about in his No More Mr. Nice Guy book, because integrated males are balanced. Integrated males know how to navigate through their emotions. Integrated males know how to problem solve, and you only get integrated males from 2-parent households where there are balanced females and balanced males. Right now, we have too many beta males out here, and they just do not know how to raise boys to be men, because they've been raised to act like women themselves. And this is why we have this beta male man crisis going on. And in addition to participating in these mass shootings, these beta males are going out here, and again, they're participating in a spectrum of violence where they not only assault people, they murder girlfriends, they kill families. People just don't understand the spectrum of violence these guys participate in. These kids, they're sitting there, they're marching for their lives, not understanding that all of this starts with the way we raise children, and if we do not find a way to raise boys that teaches them to become integrated males, this violence is not going to stop. There is no legislation that can stop a beta male, because the problems with beta males starts with the way they are raised, the culture they are taught, and the culture that is enforced by our mainstream media, which is completely misandristic and makes every effort to bash men, denounce men, degrade men, and show men as someone who has no value, and elevates women to an unrealistic pedestal where they are perceived to be absolutely perfect. The problems that lead to much of this violence, again, start with the female, but most Americans do not have the courage to confront the female about the way we raise boys and confront the mothers about the way we raise boys, because to confront her means to tell her that she is wrong, and many men don't want to tell her that she's wrong because, one, they fear that they won't get sex out of her, and two, they fear that if they tell her that she's wrong, she'll never want to have anything to do with them. And politicians don't want to tell her that she's wrong because they fear losing her votes. But all of the things that are leading to this whole crisis with all these mass shooters, they all start with the way women raise boys to become men. And the whole thing is, we have taken the man out of the picture in American society. We have devalued him, we've minimized him, we've lowered his value in society. And what we don't understand is the only person who can teach a boy to be a man is an integrated, balanced man. With an integrated, balanced man, you have a man there who can teach a boy to be a man and be the type of man who will find another way to deal with his feelings than picking up a gun and shooting innocent people. Feminists over the last 50 years told a lie to everyone that a woman could raise a boy to be a man. And when we look at the end result of that beta male she has raised an entire 2 to 3 generations of males who cannot do, and who will just fall completely apart and believe the only way they can solve their problems in life is to destroy the lives of others through acts of violence like mass shootings. And they have kids out here thinking that they can march and protest this problem away, when, again, the only way we're going to deal with this problem is to, one, acknowledge that we made a mistake 50 years ago with the social engineering of this soft male. Two, we're going to have to deal with things to invest resources in men. And then three, we're going to have to deal with an effort to try to raise more balanced, integrated men in society, the kind of men who will be able to function far better than this 2 to 3 generations of beta males. Yes, these kids it was nice to see them march for their lives, but they didn't even know what they were marching for or really know what problem really needed to be solved. The problems, when it comes down to this beta male, start with this female. And most Americans really need, if they really want to get change in society, they're going to have to confront women about the way they have raised men. And then they're going to have to make efforts to try to invest resources in men so that we can raise a better generation of men in the future. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct publications, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.